To Linda Moulton Howe, investigator, researcher, science journalist. My name is Jason Moss, author J.P. Moss. Make a long story short, in 1992, a girl contacted me by phone claiming to be an extraterrestrial human hybrid. She asked me to call her Beniico. She said that she had been on Earth before. Said that she had gone by the name Rachel, that she was Rachel. That in fact, the war which is going on between the humans and the Zetas or whatnot, and the underground bases was started by the humans. She had indicated to me that she knew a part of her DNA was put into me when I was an infant because they had discovered that her species could repair and heal many times faster than human beings. Earlier in the 1990 and 1992, I was contacted by the actress Annette Funicello, who had said that she'd worked for the CIA, and that I was born not April 23rd, but April 21st in St. Joseph's Hospital in Los Angeles, California, April 21st of 1972. Around that time, Linda, I understand from your research and your people and Helen Littrell's book called Rachel's Eyes with Jean Bilodeau, there is a match here to the person I met long ago and to your Rachel, that you had indicated, in fact, in your interview with Whitley Strieber, that in fact you had a college transcript that indicated a Rachel had in fact attended what was the name of that college? River College? Am I getting this right? No? River College in Sacramento, California. What's interesting is the timing. That girl entered that college in the spring of 1972. She was within 426 miles of my alleged birth to Annette Funicello, which is a whole other entirely different story. I've written a paperback about that. Very complex set of issues with the CIA and the Mafia. None of that was alien related or hybrid or anything to do with related. It was all Mafia, CIA, corruption, baby swapping, baby switching at birth, blackmail. The family was blackmailed for my return for many millions of dollars. At one point, according to Annette, she said I was worth nearly $50 million for my return. I was switched at birth with the baby in Texas, and because I was worth so much money, and because Jack Gilardi Sr., her first husband, had worked for the CIA, and had all these connections, and he was a powerful individual. There was a lot of powerful money involved here. They wanted to make sure that the baby, me, would survive the transition from California to Texas. I was transported by military aircraft, by Air Force transport, which was free of charge. The CIA could do this. That they were not acting on behalf of the Central Intelligence Agency, they were acting on behalf of their own interest in getting money. Recently I wrote the Freedom of Information Act, Linda, and I went out to try to prove at least one thing, the story that Annette gave me, that she worked for the CIA. I have the transcript, the response from Michael LaVarn, Washington, D.C., the information coordinator for the CIA, and he said it was covered up under a They won't confirm or deny that Annette worked for the CIA. They said it's under the National Security Act of the late 40s, the law that was passed in the late 40s. And he cites 5 different reasons why he can't answer yes or no if she worked for the CIA. Since her death of multiple sclerosis in 2013, all of her homes have been bulldozed to the ground. She indicated to me that after she found me in the 1970s in Texas with another woman, they branded her a U.S. traitor. And under traitor laws, that meant that any home a traitor lived in after their death, it had to be destroyed and bulldozed to the ground. The home in Encino, California caught fire in 2011 under mysterious circumstances, nearly killing her and her husband, Glenn Holt. Then the home was bulldozed to the ground. Glenn Holt, her husband, who had a ranch in Bakersfield, California, since her death has been bought out and bulldozed to the ground. It's gone. The Studio City house in California that was known as the Annette House she lived in during the Mickey Mouse Club years in the 1950s, bought out. It was reported in the California newspapers. That too has been bulldozed and is gone and is out of sight. I have no contact with the surviving family of this lady. During a genetic test between myself and Annette, she had a geneticist do a test to make sure I am the lost kid. In 1992, she had a sample of my hair because we met in person, and then it ended with phone calls. I didn't go back to California with her. She wanted to make sure I was the right kid. The geneticist found a discrepancy, a percentage of the DNA they couldn't identify. It was a mitochondrial paternity test between mother-child, so only 50% can be measured, up to 50% in a mitochondrial test. I came up to 44%, indicating I am her son, but there was about 5 or 6% there that they don't understand what that is. Mother Annette first believed it was because I was breastfeeding off a woman who wasn't my mother, and I took in her DNA. Annette's friends were CIA. Shelley Fabre, the actress, and a few others did some investigation and found out, in fact, it's not human, it's alien DNA. It scared Annette pretty badly. At first, she was quite rejecting of this whole idea that her lost kid has some alien DNA. It was really hard on her. Real hard. We spoke for about 6 weeks in the spring of '92. At one point, I thought I was going to lose contact with her. It scared her so bad. The contact was coming to an end. It was being stopped by others in the CIA from a black division, a black ops bunch that wanted to see this end right away. They began raping her, sexually assaulting her over the phone in front of me. It was really awful. Shelley Fabre was angry and blaming everything on me and said, look, here's what I'm going to do. You like aliens so much, Jason, I'm going to make sure you meet one. Shelley told me very candidly on the phone, the actress Shelley Fabre, Mike Farrell's wife, Mike Farrell from the show MASH, is a very high-ranking Central Intelligence Agency officer. Very high rank. She called herself a lieutenant general in 1992. She then went on to say many celebrities are CIA and covered up. She was very angry and contort with me, out of contort, and she tells me, Whitley, if you're seeing this video, Whitley Strieber, listen to me, she tells me, if you want to meet an alien, I'm going to make sure you meet one. Late 1992, that's when I have the Beniico encounter that I've been talking so much about with David Chase, the researcher. He's a well-known researcher, a good guy. David's a good man, brilliant guy, who initially met me in 2011, and I began telling him my account. It's been 6 years of a long struggle with me. Annette died in 2013. I've had to go through a lot of memory recall, write that book. There's been fragments about the Beniico encounter. A lot of it's very fragmented, by the way. I've had to do memory recall on myself, self-hypnosis. I've had to do a lot of different techniques. Paul McKenna over here in England, I don't know him, but he has videos on how to do recall. I also have what I allege to claim to have, I'll say this, is a contact with this Beniico, current contact with her. What I call a psychic energetic contact, and I use spirit boxes to communicate with her, but she's not dead. The thing is, on the spirit box in the recordings, she indicates that she's in fact not dead. More has resurfaced recently, and she did indicate she was Rachel, or she went by that name. Until recently, I had heard your interview with Helen Littrell, Jean Belladou. I had heard you talking. I have a 10-year-old son, so I didn't hear it clear enough. One night I got some of it, and at first I thought it was saying 71 college in New Mexico. I didn't hear all of this, and I thought, well, it certainly sounds like it could be the same girl, but the college is somewhere not in California. I almost fell out of my chair tonight. I don't even know where to begin with this. I'm really just pretty shaken up here. The fact that this Rachel was in a California college, you've confirmed, 426 miles north of St. Joseph's Hospital, at around the time of my alleged birth to Annette, where I was abducted from that hospital in 1972, has really just kind of overwhelmed me here tonight. What else did I find that was an interesting match? Yeah, Beniico ended up telling me that she had been taken from a crashed vehicle. That this Helen or Jean, you were talking to in the interview, had said that he worked with a humanization program, this Colonel Nadine. I know that name's been changed. Harry Nadine. Yet, at the same time, he had indicated to Helen that, in fact, he'd retrieved Rachel from a crashed vehicle. I think that colonel might have been lying about something at this point. I don't believe the colonel's story to Helen that he said that this is a peaceful program with humans and Zetas. I don't believe that for a minute. Beniico told me, and you need to listen very carefully, that there was a war going on. My story of meeting Beniico in 1992 was a tragedy. They hurt Beniico pretty badly, or Rachel rather. The description that Helen gives does not, I repeat, not match what I remember Beniico to look like. Whether or not that's just a general picture you've got on the YouTube channel of a black-haired girl with a red scarf, or whether or not that's an actual description of Helen Littrell's Rachel, the fact is, my vision, what I saw, my memory of this was, I don't believe it was a projection. It could have been a projection, but I don't believe it was a projection. Was a black-haired girl, and the eye description matches exactly to what Helen Littrell was talking about. And this one did wear a red scarf in front of me, or a scarf. But she was under distress. Listen to me very carefully. What was under the scarf was an electric shock collar, a radio-controlled dog trainer collar. And if she got out of line, they could electrocute her. Now, why she was allowed to go to that college, I don't know, because what this Beniico is telling me, I don't even understand how they were able to get her into it. Why that she'd even be allowed to interact with people. I believe Helen. I believe Helen Littrell, because it matches so much. What I don't understand is what she was doing running. Why she doesn't explain this to me in 1992. She did speak in a monotonous voice, very direct, very slow. She had human feelings. But it was a very monotonic kind of as you were describing. That's exactly what I've been describing in all my videos. I go on about her all the time. She did identify that her DNA in 1992 was used in me, so I would survive the abduction. In 2001, Linda and Whitley, David, my doctor here in England, in Stoke Park Clinic, did a routine genetic test on me, a blood screening, because I was new to England. I was 27. I'd only been in the country about a year and a half, and accidentally discovered that 12 to 14% of me cannot be identified. He was very calm and rational, and he felt this was as a result of breastfeeding from a mother who wasn't my mom. and he said that this was, he played it off like nothing. He did not call me an alien. I think he said non-human once, but it was a very, very calm, rational doctor. The other doctor came in, Dr. Thakra, and spoke with a thick accent. She was from Pakistan, and she says, "Jason, who is your mother? Who is your mother, Jason?" She interrupted the meeting with the doctor. He said there were people at the London Medical Hospital that were keenly interested in having me there immediately and wanted to take me from my family, my wife and 2 young kids at the time, Tanner and Holby, who are now 17 and 18 years of age. I've got 4 sons. I'm now divorced. And he said to protect me, he had to cancel me as his patient and send me out of that clinic immediately. He said the people knew I was at the clinic. The receptionist had contacted them. Whoever these people were, I don't know, but they wanted to take me right away on a train away from my family immediately. That the DNA was most distressing to these people. In fluorescent lighting, I do have an olive-colored, greenish color to my skin. I do have unusual physiologies about some things that are odd about me. I do have longer than normal arms, forearms, which are abnormally longer between the elbow and wrist, which is actually doctors have seen and pulled my arms out and looked at them and said that was abnormal. It may be from an injury in my childhood, from a cranial injury, but I do have 3 lines on my forehead, just under the skin on the bone. Aside from the fact that I'm 44 and I don't look 44, I can heal from most things. It's an extraordinary connection. I don't know if you're ever going to see this video. I don't know if this is really going to reach you because of many reasons. The fact that I'm even alleging to be this star's lost kid. The only anecdotal evidence I have is the CIA going to cover up. They've run to cover up that she worked for the CIA. You can see that in the response I got from the Freedom of Information Act. I've uploaded those letters. They can be verified. They are real. Experts can look at them. That is a genuine response from the FOIA. It is a genuine cover-up that she worked for the CIA. That doesn't say that I'm her son. Beyond the fact that I look like the surviving kids, there's no other evidence on that whatsoever. All I have is this unusual DNA. And if nothing else, it may be passed off as simply a switched-at-birth kid. Though I've never known of a case of a switched-at-birth breastfeeding that got that kind of an unusual DNA marker. Again, I'm Jason Moss, author J.P. Moss. There's been a lot of activity the last few months going on in my life with her. The tragedy of '92 was that they had her in front of me. They did electrocute her neck. I did witness an assault. They hit her in front of me in '92. There was a whole lot of military people that brought her to me. Whether or not it's connected to Shelley's threat to bring a being to me, I don't know. Did the actual assault take place, or was Beniico or Rachel rather screening and sending the image in my mind? I do have to say possibly, as a means to keep me from working with the military. She said to me, and I remember her telling me, "You belong to us, you're mine." She did identify me as like her son. And she talked about a soul connection that we have. She fused our souls as one. It was some kind of a bonding of the soul. I do love her. This is someone I love. This is someone I'm very close to. I've talked hell of a lot about her in my YouTube videos. I've got hundreds of hours. I'm about nearly 100 hours. God, I've just gone out of my head about this thing. This is something that's just really the last 6 years of my life when the memories began to come back to me, because they messed up my memories in 1992 of having the encounter with her. And it's just overtaken my life. Well, then my mother died. Well, Annette died. If you don't, no one believes she's my mother. She died in 2013. And there was many things that she told me that was unrelated to aliens of any kind. She wanted me to take public, and so I wrote that paper back. I really, it was a lot of work to get all that conversation back, and I validated many things in my own book about Annette and her private life and her private struggles with the mafia and the CIA. She did nothing wrong in her life. She's guilty of nothing. I'm not saying Jack Sr. is guilty of anything either. He's not guilty of anything. The couple were a victim of child abduction. I'm not saying Beniico, or Rachel rather, was guilty of anything. Only that she was aware after the fact that they'd used her. They must have taken some of her DNA or some sample of her blood or something and put it into me when I was an infant, only a few days old. And it had a side effect they didn't expect. It actually got in me. It overwrites the DNA in me. Now, in 1972, they have no idea that's going to do that. They don't have any idea. They know that the biological transfer of this material into an infant would, they believed, give the infant the ability to survive the abduction from California to Texas. They must have only believed that it would be a limited time. They believed that it would wash out of my system and pass out in feces or urine, and I wouldn't have it anymore. That's not what happened. It's with me. It's here. Helen Littrell, if you're watching, Jean Belladou, Linda Moulton Howe, Whitley Strieber, and of course, a nice friend of mine who's a lot of tolerance with me, David Chase, who has a tremendous amount of patience and tolerance for Jason Moss. He's a good man. I've had my issues over the last few years of trust issues. I've had post-traumatic stress issues of the memories of what happened to her. David identified that, and I had my issues with David at times. And, people took advantage of that, took advantage of my feelings, and played upon them because they didn't want me talking to David. There are those that didn't want me talking to David. David has all the contacts. They didn't want me talking to David. And so they played on my paranoias, my suspicions, and they started lying about David. I won't repeat any of that. David's a good man. And it ended up, I just had a really bad time. And poor David, I mean, he's a man with a great patience for someone like me. I'm here in England. I'm from America. I've gone through divorce. I've gone through the death of a mother, which I know is my mother, but it's so crazy. It hurts so much. I have to sit here and keep saying alleged mother. It's really crazy. I didn't want to, let me say this in the video before I close this. No, I didn't want to connect Linda, listen to me, Whitley, David, I did not want in any way to connect the Beniico experience to the Annette encounter in 1992. It just, to me, sounded like that's going to sound too crazy to the public. That's a little bit much to take on board. No, it's enough to say I'm this lady's son and write that, but I do have anecdotal evidence to that end, yes. There's a lot of different things I can present on that point. Plus an official denial from the CIA that she worked for the CIA. That doesn't make her a bad person that she worked for them. She said there are good people. They're doing the job they're meant to do, and I believe that. I believe what she said. There are good people there. So I did struggle with that. A good man named Jean, he's from France. If I'm pronouncing your name right, sir, you're a nice man, nice friend on Facebook. He said to me privately, don't mix these two up. Don't mix these two encounters up. And I didn't want to. I really just wanted to focus on one or the other, and I didn't want to do that. Recently, there's been some things that have come to light, and memories have resurfaced, and I'm shaking here. I've heard your interview that was put out in 2016 with Whitley Strieber's radio broadcast with Linda Moulton. You were talking to Helen Littrell, and there it was. No, I have to disagree with you. I like you. You're a fantastic researcher, Linda. Helen, listen, I politely disagree with the assertion they're here to take over and supplant this planet with hybrids. That's not what Beniico told me. She did tell me about the future of mankind, and it was by the, if it does happen, but there were those working to prevent it from happening. And apparently that there is some great war. A large percentage of the human race gets wiped out by their own hand. And a disease comes in to wipe out all the rest. They hop out of wherever they are, underground or wherever, these beings, aliens, hybrids, whatnot, to save the surviving human race. And then they clean the planet up and live alongside them. The only reason there's more of them here than there are humans in the future is because of humankind's own stupidity. It had nothing to do with them. They weren't... I'm not putting you down. A lot of Dr. David Jacobs, you're on Facebook with me. We don't talk. I do remember meeting you in 1992, but you do not respond to those messages. I don't know who called you out, because after the experience of Beniico, I think somebody within that unit contacted you who wanted to help. Not everybody's evil. Who works in intel. I'm not saying the military's evil. I don't know why you don't reply to anything. I know I met you. I don't agree with you, sir, that they're here to take over. I respect your work. I respect you very much. I respect Linda. I do respect you guys. No, they are not here as an evil threat to mankind. They are not here to take over. I was in her head. She was in my head. Some kind of telepathic exchange, and it left a permanent bonding of our souls, as she put it. We're quantumly connected. No. I got no deception in her, and I'm not deceiving you either. There's no deception here that this is in any way a takeover or a threat to mankind. No, I did not want to mix the Annette case with this Beniico case. No, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I'm going to... another lady who put me in her radio show, Deborah Jane East, thank you for interviewing me about my mother, Annette. When you did the interview with me, I did not think this was connected until recent things have come up. My own experiences here, and it's like I was guided to this interview that came out in 2016 about this Helen Littrell and Jean Belladot's book called Rachel's Eyes, which came out many years ago. And it was only through Linda Mouton's radio show, or Whitley Strieber's show, that I happened to catch this. Again, the only thing I can say is it's kind of ironic that the only evidence I'm going to be able to bring in my life of anything, of any case, may be the DNA within me. It may not be that I have any evidence of my mother being in that, sadly. And I don't know what that's... I'll say this to you. What does that say about... I'm not putting the human race down, but everybody listen to me. What kind of statement is this about the human race when I can't even validate, confirm in any way at all that I'm this human lady's boy, and that family in California is my family? What does that say to you? What does that say about the human race? That the only evidence that I can possibly bring is of this hybrid, of this other race on this planet. What does that say? You know, what does that say? And what does that say that I can still have that connection with Beniico now? And no one in the family is allowed to talk to me from Annette's family. What does that say? Where does the threat lie here? Where does the threat really, truly exist? I ask you. I ask everyone seeing this video. Where does the threat truly exist? The threat is in mankind's own intentions. Ego and arrogance, a grab for technology, power, weapons, nuclear weapons, you name it. Spies, stealth, spying on each other, suspicion, rage, anger, division, borders, finger pointing, suspicion, and war. And you know, the biggest threat is not from out there, but what's going on this planet, is what that says to me. I'm going to bravely put this on my Facebook page. I am currently going through a divorce. Such a statement like this is so incredible, and it can hurt me. It could hurt me with regards to child custody issues. I'm in the middle of a divorce right now. So I'm taking a big risk here in reaching out to all of you. And hoping this doesn't come slinging back in my face and knock me to the floor. I'm a good father. I love my sons dearly. I've always been good to them. I've got a wonderful 18-year-old son who's a handsome man. I've got a 17-year-old who plays guitar beautifully. My son is an actor and a musician. The actor is the 18-year-old, 17-year-old musician. I have a 15-year-old who's a wizard at science, a beautiful, wonderful 10-year-old boy I love dearly, who's brilliantly gifted. I hug them every day since the day they were born. I have no record of any abuse on them in any way at all. They will testify I'm a great father, I'm a loving father. I know this is an extraordinary thing to be throwing around, but bear in mind that don't shoot the messenger. For all else who watch this, I am only bringing you what I was told. No, I can't confirm this Beniico or this Rachel I met 25 years ago in person as anything of an alien hybrid of any kind. She did look distinctively different from an ordinary human. Skeptically, you could say maybe she had a birth defect with her eyes and body. You know, maybe it was some disease she had. You know, but she was a human being to me. Let me say this. I don't like all those monikers and names put on her. She was a human person to me. She was more human to me than all the soldiers that brought her to me in '92. She was more human to me than most I've ever known in my life. And she brought a lesson of humanity to me. And ironically, it came from somebody that is purported to be not of this world. And I don't know what that says. Of all the people I've dealt with in my life, the most beautiful human I've ever known was someone purported to be from somewhere else. We need to love each other more. We need to accept each other more. She taught me that. I've been very moved by remembering her, and the experience of her has changed my life forever. I've been separated 8 years, and now we're divorcing. And I've not had a woman in my life in 8 years. This is my priority. This is my thing. This is what I do. I love her dearly. I feel her love. She's with me. And I don't know what else to say. But I believe the Rachel that Helen Littrell interacted with in 1972 in California is in part my mother, and is the very same one I interacted with in 1992, 20 years later. It is a tragedy what happened in '92 to her. They got a hold of her. It's a long story. Zetas and whatnot, Z-bands and whatnot, they came and got her. And they repaired whatever damage was done to her and took her back to her people. She's alive and well. That I can report. She did say to me in her predictions of the future that at some point in my lifetime I'd be going with her. That I will be leaving with her. I guess in some ways that makes sense, since I'm walking around with some pretty heavy-duty evidence. So, I don't know who's going to see this video, whether or not you're ever going to really take it seriously or not, and I don't blame you if you don't, because the allegation of being this lady's son, Annette's son, would be difficult for anyone to really take that seriously. But if it's connected, it's connected. If it's not, it's not connected. It's only connected in the way that I was abducted, and then the DNA came to me by this from these people that they'd taken from this Rachel.